Alright, we're coming to you with the patch 721 notes. It is 2 days after the notes have been released, and today the patch is coming out, so we're going to go ahead and do a quick rover. Today I have with me a good friend of mine, Svvitch, or Switch. How do you pronounce your name?
What's up, Cyrus? How you doing?
How do you pronounce your name?
Just switch.
Okay, I didn't know if
Or
you read it as a W. Alright, that's new. They're doing a patch highlights now? Riot releases their own thing? Or they usually just not leave it on
oh,
the
like
page?
the things at the start.
The patch highlights, the YouTube video they linked. If you're following our Facebook
Oh,
page, this video should look familiar. Okay. Alright, whatever. Let's go ahead and get into this. Azir, damage, same at early ranks, basically a little bit lower at later ranks, so that basically moves down the maxing of the Q. Or, well, I guess you're still going to max Q. It's just going to do 20 less damage at max rank. And because it's on a low cooldown, I mean, in a standard combo, that's going to be minus 40 damage. So just slight nerfs. Probably to make sure that Azir isn't too ramped up in the mid game. Because remember, because you max this first, you go ahead and you hit that at around level 9. Um, so in the mid game, they just don't want Azir to be as strong. That's why they're targeting that ability a little bit. And then soldier damage unchanged from levels 1 to 5, reduced by 5 thereafter. And that's just overall base 5, except for levels 1 to 5. So you see 60 to 70 at levels 1 through 6, and then plus 5. Thereafter, originally 185 down to 180. I don't know if anybody has had a little bit of experience in Azir, but there definitely was a little bit of talking about him after the recent buffs and the change to the meta a little bit, just because a very long-range high DPS carry is extremely hard and difficult to maneuver around and assassinate, especially in the meta where we had all the Soraka Sona. Definitely a lot more difficult to deal with Azir, and even the Ardent sensor buffs gave him the attack speed and made him a little bit stronger. So he's still definitely viable in solo queue, but make sure you know a little bit what you're doing, and make sure that you don't overestimate your damage just by a teeny bit in that mid game. Um, Changes to Echo. His passive just got increased. Are they enforcing Echo Jungle? Oh
I think
Jesus, they are. What
bring
the
back.
fuck?
Looks like they're trying to bring it back or start it again.
We
I read
won.
somewhere that with the new rune changes in season 8, that the meta was gonna swap to like high damage junglers and then tanky engaged supports because the new runes like I think there's one that gives you increased movement speed when you're diving into a team and stuff. So they might be prepping for something big starting next season.
All right. Well, this just bothers me. I don't really. I like a meta with heavy carry junglers, but I also heavily dislike a meta with strong carry junglers. Anyway, if you are planning on playing Echo full AD in the jungle, or full AP in the jungle, then he definitely will be a little bit more potent right now than he was before, just because his clear speed's going to be a little bit stronger, because you're going to get that passive off twice against large neutral monsters, and you're going to get it off once on all the small ones. Um, that's going to make it a little bit easier to get to your level 3 or your level 4, and that's going to be, and because you're getting there faster, your lane pressure is going to be increased. And because of you having lane pressure, if you get enough assists, even, let alone kills, you can definitely be the carry jungler that you need to be, and succeed all over the map, especially with someone as highly mobile as Echo. And then we also see a little bit of change to Evelynn, and Evelynn has just been reworked. She is the definition of AP carry jungler right now. Um, let's see. Whiplash. Minimum damage from percentage health went from 0 to 25. Whiplash does not kill a mini Krug. This is really not going to change anything except just hitting the small monsters, making her clear speed ever so slightly more cleaner. Not even really faster, but cleaner. So definitely not anything too important there, so don't expect any major changes in feel from Evelyn. Galio. Oh, geez, we have so many changes. Wait, what the fuck? They want Galio to be an AP carry?
Yeah.
Yeah, this tilts
away,
me.
they took away a lot of his base stats and gave him better scales. So now he gets rewarded more for building AP instead of building tank. And that's pretty crazy. Because I thought he was super obnoxious before these changes, but after these changes, one shot in your entire backline.
What the fuck? This is really interesting. I have a really big problem with this, actually. Okay, so 0.7, 0.9, 0.9. Does his ultimate have a AP scaling ratio for damage? I don't remember it having an AP scaling ratio. I'm just gonna check real quick. Oh, it does. Oh, it's huge too. Oh my god. All right, this is a problem. So I'm just gonna do a quick comparison here. We're just gonna add up Galio's base damages and his damage. So I'm pretty sure, what was that? 300 damage at rank 3, 350. So 350 to 220, 170, 570, 640, 740. So you have 740 base damage plus 14 plus 18 is 32, 3.2 AP. That's your damage output. Is that reduced upon impact? Only the knockup for Galio's ult is changed based on how close they are to the center. But yeah, you are looking at a really nasty 740 base damage plus 3.2 AP when you get a hit by a full combo by Galio, and that's not even considering the percentage health damage that you're taking from Winds of War after Winds of War hits, because apparently Winds of War is also going to have a maximum health ratio, and I'm not going to go ahead and calculate that, but just for example, let's see, I'm pretty sure Annie has like 270 base damage on her Q, 275 on her W. Her W is like 0.75, her Q is like 0.7, and her Tibbers is like 0.6 and then plus 0.2 per second, it's something like that. And this does not add up to 3.2. That actual damage is smaller, although I think her base damages might be a little bit higher. And also she has a little bit more AoE, so you have to give her the benefit of the doubt, where Annie's Q is single target, and she only has 2 AoE abilities, where Galio's Winds of War is going to hit people AoE. His E is only going to hit one person, and his ultimate is actually very difficult to hit. So you are just going to see really probably this down to average on 500 plus about, what is that, 9, maybe 2.1, plus a small amount of percentage health. You could kill a carry with that in the mid game. You're definitely talking about a mid game AP threat. That can be really annoying, and especially talking about like Galio mid. Um, you're really looking at like Rod of Ages, um, Leandries, Sork boots. I mean, I would still get defensive boots, but Sork boots plus Leandries in the mid game, that's going to be like a solo queue massacre. That might even be that might even have to be tuned down a little bit. So definitely for solo queue, watch out for that Galio mid, or even like a Galio support with the AP support item. Like that could just cause so many problems. Um, for solo queue, especially for carries, because Galio is just so hard to beat up. Because his base tankiness was not really tuned down. Um, in fact, his base tankiness was technically tuned up. If you go ahead and look at this, or well, no, his physical damage reduction was tuned down, but his magical damage reduction was tuned up. So his physical damage reduction is probably going to be about zero point 0.6 of what it was before. Just because you're gonna have ability power, which is going to increase your magical damage reduction, but you're gonna have the physical damage reduction be about half of that. So if you had a 20% increase, if you build like a lot of AP, then you're probably gonna have that 6% or that 60% as for physical damage reduction. So definitely in solo queue, mid lane. Probably not jungle, obviously. Although that tank Galio jungle was really interesting when I saw that a couple times. Definitely Rod of Ages, Leandres. And then probably full tank. And even then, if you get Leandres and then you get something like Sunfire Cape, um, like you're talking about the magic pen that you've purchased on top of like constant magic damage per second, on top of like magic damage per second that you get from Winds of War. You can really like melt through tanks as well. And Galio might be moving up to S tier, or even like high A tier, so like A plus tier, as for a tank. So we're gonna it's either pick or ban almost. So I definitely recommend that highly for solo queue for mid laners. But let's go ahead and move on. This tiny gangplank buff, what the fuck? Why did this happen?
You gotta please all the Gangplank one tricks, my dude.
I don't see why.
That one extra gold per parlay is gonna get you to an item that much faster.
I mean, it can. Like, I mean, 100 CS is 100 extra gold.
Yeah. I mean, it adds up to the scale, but it is a really random change.
I think it's a very desperate move to keep Gangplank meta. Because like if you're trying to accelerate, like this is actually specifically accelerating, Triforce on Gangplank. Which gives him like a weird lead in the top lane, for a very short period of time, depending on the matchup. So you're accelerating Triforce by basically 100 gold. Maybe 200. No, not 200, but like 100 to 150. It depends. It also depends on like whether or not you're getting kills and whether or not you're getting assists. and how much you're CSing. Obviously, it depends on the game state. But in a perfect game, especially at a high level of play, where you don't really see a lot of solo kills, you see a lot of farming, you see a lot of rotations. Um, People are just going to be farming until they get their first item and sometimes two items. Um, and that's where the difference is going to take place. And because that difference is going to take place, he's going to get Triforce about 1 to 2 minutes earlier, and which gives him 1 to 2 minutes more time to abuse that short lead. To abuse. Okay. Nothing really too complicated on this patch notes. Rammus was shaping up. They want to change him. I guess they didn't like that. Alright. So, when they changed Rammus, he became more of like a general tank. And by general tank, I mean like non-specific stat focused. So as you can see here, they went ahead and they reduced the magic resist bonus, but increased his armor bonus. And this is kind of like how Rammus used to be, where you stack armor, you stack armor, you stack armor, and that's what you do. Whereas quite recently, Rammus did not need to only stack armor. He could build situationally, and then because he benefited from both armor and magic resist, he was able to basically be twice as effective as in a tank as most tanks normally can be, just because he was too impenetrable. But now they're scaling that down so that he is less viable into those more magic damage focused comps, but definitely still very strong and even a little bit more viable into more AD focused comps. And even the magic resist bonus went down by 10. That one's a little rough. Like the magic resist bonus keeping at 20. I mean that they could have left that there, because Rammus is strong, but he's not too strong. Going ahead for a solo queue rating, actually. I give Rammus like a B plus for solo queue rating. Definitely tier 2, but high tier 2 because of how strong he is right now, and definitely since the Ardent meta is now a little bit messed up. I took a skim over this.
Ready for that.
Being that anti AD carry targeter, and being able to get on the AD carry, stun them down, and then make it so that your team can overpower the enemy team without the Ardent. Rammus may be useful for that, especially like with his flash Q taunt, as well as that change to his ultimate where he gets the stacking slow. So don't turn a blind eye to Rammus. He's definitely very strong. As for Sejuani, base armor down, minus 18, minus 5, minus 9. Wow, so minus 23 armor, minus 14 magic resist. That's really unfortunate. She lost so many stats. Like she lost like 700 golden stats just from her base stats. That's really unfortunate. I don't like that. But Sejuani definitely is really tanky. So what else did they do? Flat bonus resistances, 20, 70, 120. Okay. So what she lost in her base stats, she will now get at rank 16 in her passive. The shield linger no longer is 1 second and then 3 seconds. It's just 2 seconds, which makes it really consistent. which makes it easier to play against because you don't have to think about it. It's always going to be the same. And then the cooldown is also going to a consistent number. Definitely slight. They're very slight nerfs. But they are nerfs in the early game, especially since you're getting a huge base armor nerf in the early game. So this is gonna really hurt early clear. As Sejuani will take more damage. Jungle damage. What else? Freeze damage reduced by half. That's really interesting. So reduced by 60 at rank 5, assuming that you don't max W. But the shatter damage is basically the same. No, it is the same. It's not basically the same. It is the same. So Sejuani, if she was A tier before, she's now like an A minus. Only specifically because this change will hurt her early game. And whenever you see some change to the early game, you're going to see a problem occur where her early game is now punishable, and then a punishable early game can lead to an unsuccessful mid game. But her late game remains basically unchanged. So the only real change in her late game is the cooldown on her passive is going to be 3 seconds longer than it would normally be, and the linger duration is 1 second lower than what it would normally be. But it's still the same idea, and still, as long as it's used correctly, her level 16 plus mark, or basically late game 25-minute plus mark, will be the same. As for competitive play, Sejuani will still be a threatening pick. Not like competitive play really matters at this point. But it's definitely fun to see lots of scrims and stuff during the in-between season. Alright, Udyr. I haven't seen it. When's the last time we had an Udyr change? Do you know?
I think it's been at least like 10 patches or so.
Alright. Attack damage growth stat 1.8. Yeah. What the fuck? Alright, so
This is that streamer patch, man. We got Tobias Fate's Gangplank getting buffed, and then we got Trick 2G's Udyr getting buffed.
So Udyr's attack damage is 32 higher. Wait, what? Did I do that right? Hold on. 18 squared is 64 plus 100 plus 160. So it's 260. It's 324. Yeah, 32.5. What the fuck? Why is he getting so much attack damage? Does he now have the most attack damage in the game? Hold on.
The only thing I think is close is Draven.
He has the most attack damage in the game now.
Is that more than Draven Q's?
No. Base attack damage. Okay, so trivia for those who are watching. Before now, the highest attack damage in the game at level 18, not level 1. Level 1 used to be, it might still be Warwick, but level 18 it was Cho'Gath and Skarner, and they had a base attack damage of 131, or something like that, right? And now Udyr's base attack damage at level 18 is fucking 143. This is insane. You know why this is insane? Because Udyr's a Triforce champion. So they actually just gave Udyr so much of a buff. Tiger Stance AD Udyr is going to be like almost viable. It's still not really viable, Um, but it's definitely viable for solo queue, um, especially in lower elos. But it's almost viable. It like went from like a C to like a B minus. What do you think?
I think it's gonna be interesting to see. Again, like I said, the runes have changed for next season, so it could be setting that up. I did actually watch Trick 2Gs, and there's this mastery that makes you faster. Like I said earlier, when you're diving into the enemy team, and it gives you like a 30% move speed buff. And he said you'd just be running through, slapping people, killing people, and seeing these changes really makes me think. Is that something they're setting up for next season, or is it just another random placebo change?
Interesting. No, I think definitely after the runes change, there's gonna be so much different. Um, but as they are applicable now, it's definitely really interesting. Um, all right, down to Urgot. What the hell is happening? Leg cooldown. No longer scales off of cooldown reduction. All right, that is different. So at level 13 is when Urgot will be at maximum efficiency. Because wow, 2.5 seconds. As long as he can. Oh, this actually is really scary. Oh my god! Did you see the change on his ultimate? It has 1100 more missile speed.
Yeah, how much faster it goes, and his Q detonates quicker to target the Gatling gun. Um,
0.35 seconds quicker.
yeah,
Urgot
but
Urgot just like moved to like A tier, A minus.
yeah, pretty disgusting.
Sterak's gauge is no longer listed in Urgot's recommended items. Oh, because it's melee only.
Situational, anyways.
Sterak's gauge is a cool item.
Smash melee
Yeah.
only.
Yeah, there's nothing really to analyze here. It's just Urgot's gonna be a lot scarier than he was. His Q you're gonna see a lot more. It's gonna hit a lot more, as it's gonna be so much easier to hit. I mean, 0.35 seconds is huge. Um, and then you're gonna see him at level 13. He's just gonna pop off and start like running over everybody. Because it gets to a certain point where he's too tanky. He has six core. He has six hex. I don't even know what to call them. His fucking on his passive, he's got six of them. They all do 8% of your fucking maximum health. Obviously, that's going to get reduced. Because I'm pretty sure it does physical damage, but it's still
Yeah,
like a lot of damage, and he builds so much tank. He you can't take him down. You need multiple people, and even then, now that his Q's on is able to hit a lot more easily, he might be able to take somebody down with him. Because as long as you get somebody to a quarter, they're dead. 25%. And it's going to be a lot less likely that you're going to miss when something's moving that fast. Like, you're looking at, like, that's like a sniper rifle. I need something to compare that to. What's the missile speed on Caitlyn's ult? I'm looking it up right now. It actually, you know what? They're the same. I was like, it's gonna move about Caitlyn ult. All right. Yeah, no, it's gonna move exactly as fast as Caitlyn's ult moves. So that's scary fast. So definitely Urgot A minus, definitely moving up, almost like low tier 1, top laner. Since those recommended items have been updated, that's nice. That's cute. All right, so this is where things get different. Ardent Sensor. Attack speed minus 10% to minus 5%. So, and I guess the on hit magic damage is actually really noticeable. So it goes from -15 to -15. It just stays at a constant -15. So I'll just keep it at that. It's still viable. It's just not going to be. It's not going to be OP, as I was telling you earlier. Yeah.
Is it still like a pick ban thing?
No. Well,
All Ardent champs must go.
it's actually it might make the meta more confusing
Yeah.
because if you're looking
Uh,
at it like this way, you're gonna see a lot more champions like Alistar who can't really use the Ardent Sensor, but he's still gonna be a lot more viable. Who even has like a little bit of damage. And be strong enough and can even overpower these Ardents, because just in the early game and the mid game, the Ardent's not going to be strong enough. So like the Ardent sensor will be really interesting to see, because these heal supports that keep your ADC alive are still going to be good. But the idea is rushing Ardent sensor in the first 10 minutes of the game is not going to be the best choice. And maybe even it might go back to a meta where we rush redemption.
Hallelujah.
But that means you pick up Ardent Sensor around a level 11.
Yeah,
So it's either your second item or the third. Third, and by third I mean like you pick up a Sightstone before you pick up Ardent Sensor, just because you want to get to that point where the attack speed is at least relative to what it was, because I mean the difference between 30% and 35% attack speed, not much. That 5% attack speed, most people only have about 0.67. That's 5% of 0.67. Like it's not that much. It's not that big of a difference. The really big difference is the on hit magic damage, and once that on hit magic damage gets at least to 15, you mean 15 damage on hit is just like an extra stacked fervor in the early game, so it's still going to be useful. It just won't be a rush. So the champions like Soraka, and Sona, Janna. Honestly, Janna might be done. Like Janna might be like B tier, B plus tier.
Entire season.
Huh?
Only took an entire season to fix it.
I mean, it's not that Janna like causes a big problem.
I know, it was just so potent in bot lane because you can't really trade into it because it's Caitlyn, and then she just rushes Ardent and then over because Ardent makes her team that much stronger.
Yeah. Soraka and Sona are still going to be OP. You know who's going to be really OP? Taric. Taric's going to be super OP because Taric can now compete with the Ardent supports, because he can build tanky early and then build an Ardent like third or fourth item and still be like broken, and he can still get Knight's Vow.
He's the best of both.
So Taric is definitely like a fucking tier. 100% like might be the best support.
Personally, I would put him in S tier.
I don't think
because
I want to see how it pans out first, and
jungle meta goes like you've been talking about.
Yeah, no, the jungle meta's like all weird, so I don't know. I don't know if I could put Taric on S tier, but he's definitely like amazing in this situation.
Yeah, in my opinion, if the meta stays into this team comps like the Sejuani jungle with like a Galio top or something like that, these big wombo team fight combos, I would definitely put Taric in S tier because he counters all of that.
Yeah.
Where the high damage junglers come back and stuff like that. I don't know if he'll be as good as S tier, but he'll still be pretty good. Would it be cast twice is definitely effective.
He definitely could be amazingly effective, but there's also going to be situations where he's just it doesn't matter because remember when you see the meta move towards carry junglers, right? You also see the meta move to skirmish comps.
Mm.
Because the jungler is going to be really mobile on the map, and therefore throughout all of the mid game, there's going to be lots of skirmishes. And Taric is like really good at team
It's
fights.
skirmishing.
Team fights.
I think he's good at skirmishing too, because the
If he's
double comp.
there, but
If he's there,
if you can play everywhere where Taric is not, then you've
yeah.
effectively beat him, right?
I was just thinking because he has the double ability thing. If he's in his W range is like, I'm not sure off the top of my head the exact range, but like almost from Dragon Pit to Red Buff, you can actually have your W on people and stun people from that far away.
Yeah, but I could see how that
But
could be. I could see how that could be applicable on the highest level of play. I do not see how that could be applicable in solo queue. In solo queue, you're talking about chaos, and in
Yeah,
chaos, if Taric isn't like rotating everywhere immediately, and Taric's cooldowns, like don't get me wrong, Taric's ultimate cooldown is pretty high, especially in the mid game, comparatively to most ultimates, and it's really hard to time. So Taric really functions best if you're going to be doing a lot of macro play, especially with your team. Whereas in the solo queue atmosphere, in a skirmish composition, Taric is not going to be able to play well in it because people are just going to ignore you by moving to parts of the map where you aren't. Because in a skirmish comp, it means that you're always able to duel. And if you're always able to duel, you can I mean like if you're okay. There's two champions who one's a bruiser and one's an assassin, and the assassin's in the jungle. Maybe the assassin's Evelyn, they have like a Darius top or something, and you have a Renekton top, and you're Taric. And you have like maybe Ezreal jungle or something. And you all have a skirmish in the top lane. And that skirmish could go either way, assuming the assuming you're there. But if you're not there, assuming you're with your an ADC, or no, if you're there, you win it 100% of the time. But if you're not there, you do not win it at all.
or if you're slightly late because
Even if you're slightly late, because against an assassin in a skirmish comp, you always have to be there. You can't give them windows of opportunity. If there's a window, you've already made a mistake. And because you're only one person, you can't have that much control. So really, in the highest level of play, Taric will be really, 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 really good. But in lower elos, he won't be as good against skirmish comps. This is specifically against skirmish comps, because when you're not against skirmish comps, things are gonna function a little bit differently. I mean, like if they have a fucking Gnar top lane and a Maokai jungle, you're not going to see as much aggression coming out from them. You're not going to see it's just not possible for them to have as many dives unless they have an assassin mid laner and they function everything around that, like using Fizz. But even then, you'll have more control just because they'll be slow. All right, moving on. Frozen Heart increased by 10 armor. Tear of the Goddess. 2 stacks every 8 seconds to 3 stacks every 12 seconds. Why?
and get more stacks, but he doesn't even build tier anymore. So, logic.
Who?
The only person that touches is Cassiopeia, right?
The only meta person that touches it, Cassio.
Right now, the only person I can think of building it is Cassiopeia and
Yeah,
benefiting off of that extra stack.
I don't know. It just seems like
Right?
such a. Wait, no, that's not a benefit. This is not a buff. This is an ever so slight nerf. Did you not understand it?
Mm. I thought it was. Is it like a universal 12-second before the stacks reset? Or is it like
Yes.
every 4-second interval you can gain another one?
Okay, before you could gain 2 stacks in 8 seconds, and then after those 8 seconds ended, starting from when you used your first ability to get the first stack, you can then gain 2 more stacks. But that will be on an 8 second interval. Now you can only gain 3 on a 12-second interval from where the 12-second interval starts on when you use your first stack. So it will be slower. Um, it won't
Right.
be much. It won't be much slower. It spammy champions won't be able to get it as much. Um, it's only bad for spamming champions. It doesn't make a difference for champions that don't have really short cooldowns. Someone like Karthus won't benefit off of this because he can just use his Q all the time. But someone with really long cooldowns, um, it won't make a difference. They're just going to get it naturally. Because you could reset that 8 second interval all the time. But if you can't reset that interval, if you can't make a second interval when the first interval ends because you have cooldowns, then there's more time, right? There's more time in between those two intervals, and every time you have an interval, you gain stacks to get to your end. But you're not going to be at the end until all of that time passes, and you have a series of these intervals. Anyway, Mana Moon, mana per stack increased to 5. That maybe this might be for Jace and maybe Ezreal.
Ezreal ADC coming back? Question mark.
Huh?
Ezreal ADC coming back?
No,
Question mark. I
no,
know, but the buff
no,
was a joke, Cyrus.
never. Ezreal ADC is just not right now. Maybe some other time. Just not right now. Ezreal jungle like functions kind of, and that's only in highly aggressive playstyles. Um, Tear of the Goddess. What the fuck? Okay, that's really interesting. I don't really care about that. Is that it? That is it. All right. And then we have Doombots coming out. You ready to play Doombots?
Ready?
Deathsworn skins?
Victor.
Alright. Bug fixes. Are there any important bug fixes? There are no, like, real bug fixes. Oh.
Cho'Gathar.
Wait, really?
Now, like
They
stacks.
intended for this to happen? Like, if a spawned Rift Herald, so someone uses a Rift Herald against you, and you are Cho'Gath, and you eat that Rift Herald before it gets to your tower, or even after it hits your tower, that counts as an epic monster, and that gives you a stack now.
Got
I
that fixed.
I didn't think that it was supposed to give you a stack. I didn't think that counted. But apparently it does. Huh?
Because that's what it's coded as a minion. When the Rift Herald goes to hit towers, it's the coding of the game sees it as a minion. That's why you can use crowd control spells on it.
But I thought it was intended that way. It
To
that
what, be coded as a menu?
I thought that it was intended that it would function like that. Yes,
Yeah.
but it's obviously that was not their intention, because they want Cho'Gath to be able to get a fee stack off of it, which is really interesting. Which actually makes Cho'Gath like more viable. Like if Cho'Gath wasn't already strong, like when you're losing, you get a free fee stack for eating the enemy Rift Herald. Pretty free. Because when they spawn a Rift Herald, it only has like a couple thousand health. Like if you burn it down, Cho'Gath can just eat it for a third of its health or so. That's pretty strong. Oh, there's a chroma for Battlecast Urgot. All right.
Yeah, the changes, man.
All right. Synopsis of the patch notes. Ardent Sensor is still strong, but it's not strong until post level 11. So get it as your second or third item. Remember, Redemption's still OP, so you can rush that. You can go Redemption into Sightstone. And then you can go ahead and get Ardent. Remember that because you will not be getting Ardent early, your early dueling power goes down. And also remember that if the enemy has an Ardent, their early dueling power goes down. But it still does increase dueling power. It just won't increase dueling power so much that bruisers and tanks that want to engage on the AD carry will not be able to, or will be able to take the AD carry down in some situations. So be aware as to how strong the AD carry is, depending on whether or not they have the Ardent Sensor. Other than that, Urgot's fucking strong. Udyr is going to be pretty strong. He's actually pretty good right now in lower elo, but we have a hint that new runes are going to make him very, very strong. Sejuani got nerfed a little bit in the early game, so she's going to be abusable in the early game, so make sure to take advantage of her. Rammus is still strong, but he's not going to be as strong against high magic damage comps. Galio's an AP carry now, an AP carry bruiser. Echo can jungle AP, and Ozir's mid-game power spike has went down. His level 9 power spike has gone down just a little bit, which means his level 11 power spike is also slightly less powerful. But as for that, that's the end of our patch notes. Thank you for watching. Grab a like. Have a nice day.